All right, great. Welcome everybody. Appreciate you coming in. First things first. Okay, so I think I've got some people from the online section. Thank you for coming in. Some of what you're going to see may not quite match up as far as due dates. I will have an announcement up for that for folks in a different section. But it's going to be basically the same topics here, at least for part of it. I wanted to point out that I moved a lot of this stuff into the resources section of chapter 4 or module 4. This is sort of a quick summary of the types of things that we're working on. And put a little notes here about some of my programs for an upcoming program we're going to work on. All right. First things first. So you guys will find I just made this update. So we did M4T2 last time. I think the online section is getting this next. And let me update this to 4.14. I moved M4 Lab out a week. So some people were having trouble with it, and so I wanted to give you a little more time to work on it. So I wanted to kind of talk about that today. So as far as tackling this problem, yeah, I thought that this probably needed a little bit of adjustment. So it's the doubling exercise, and I'm going to kind of pull this up so we can sort of look at it. And the question is, how does linear growth work versus exponential growth? And there's a little article here that you can read that talks about that and how those curves work. But here's the problem that we're going to be solving. So in order to solve this problem, we got to do some groundwork. So what I thought I'd do is I would tackle this problem from the beginning today in REPL-IT. So hopefully you guys can kind of compare what you have. So you get an option here, and either you get $100 the first day, $200 the second day, and it keeps going up $100 every day. Or you get paid a penny the first day, and then it doubles every day. Which one will you choose? And we put a link in there that has a little worksheet how you could work this out. Okay, I'm going to add up what I make for each week and so forth, and put it all together. Sorry, just checking on some things here. Yeah, for M4T2, for folks with M4T2, it's just that code that was already provided. Well, kind of, yes. So it was very similar. So what I'm going to do is kind of tackle this problem again. So again, I would kind of watch through these to see how this worked for the main, the square, and the print answer. But I'm going to solve the problem sort of from scratch using the same principles. So hopefully the same processes we'll deal with. Okay, so let me get into a REPL-IT. I had everything set up ahead of time, and then I had to restart everything. So sorry to keep you waiting there. Okay, now we've got a decent size. Hopefully this is readable, everybody. I'm going to make sure my REPL's working. Looks good. Okay, so we got a couple more people showed up. Fantastic. Thanks for coming. So the problem we're tackling today is, and I'll just kind of put my comments up here. Kind of structure this the way I'd want to do this. Whoops. And a little bit bigger. Okay. And just restating my problem here. Okay. So now I've stated my problem here, and I'm going to set up my project. So I'm going to use the things I need to do here. I need to do include And I believe it's math. Let me double check here. So I wrote some notes in here as to how we're going to do this. You have math.h. Okay. Run this again just to make sure nothing blows up. So now we have our problem. And I'm going to put some messages here. And as always, what I'm going to do is take it in little chunks and build each part as I go. And I'll say here, void okay. And here I am declaring functions I will define later. So declaring is stating there's going to be a thing called part 1 and a thing called part 2. And defining is actually saying what those things are. So like I said, I want to try to build this from scratch. Now, for you guys, what I would say, the way I worded it, is in step 1, maybe just try to modify the program by, well, we did this loop where we counted numbers and we counted the number squared. So we'll do that, but I'm going to do that in just part 1. So let me see how I would set this up. When I try to run this, it's going to give me some errors because it's like I don't know what part 1 and part 2 are. And those aren't really great function names, but I'm going to live with it here. I'm going to define the functions. All right. The reason you do it this way is when I get here, I need to at least know this thing exists. So by declaring it's coming later, I can put it down at the bottom. I do that because you want main to be pretty high up because main is where you start. So you want to be able to figure out pretty quickly where you start. Okay. And I'm just going to start with 10 days. Let's try this, I'll say. We'll try doing a little more than 10 days afterwards, okay? Okay. I'm going to put a big old thing here, and I'll just do that for both. Why would I do that? Because I want to make sure that I have my function set up right, and I also want to make it really clear that I'm not done yet. I do that because if every time I think of something, I have to stop and do it, I'm going to forget what I was doing. So now I'm just going to tackle the problem of this one right here. Okay. What if I wanted to make $100 the first day and then each day after make 200, 300, 400, and so forth. So I'm going to say int total pay starts at 0. Daily pay starts at 100. Okay. And now I'm going to say at the bottom here, total pay. So now I've got a nice function that's going to tell me that I make 0 money, which is not right, again, but I'm doing this in little pieces. Okay. And I'm going to do this as a for loop. Actually, no, I'll do it as a while loop. I think that's going to be easier to understand. And today equals 0. Okay. Now, why am I starting with day 0? Well, when I'm doing the calculations, it's going to be easier to say I add $100 for every day that passes. So on the first day, I don't add $100 because I'm starting with $100. You could do that differently. This is that off by one error I talked about. There are different ways that you could break this up and figure out how you want to tackle it. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Is let's start with 0. So I'm going to say, while day is less than 10, and just see if I have my loop set up right. I do not. Look at that. What did I do? I wrote a loop, and I never exited because day is 0, and it's always day 0. Okay. Cool. All right, so now that's going to actually work properly. Good. Now here's the thing. I don't like how it's saying day 0. That's going to confuse people. So I'm going to say, just when I print it out, when internally in my program day is 0, I print it as day 1. Now that looks nice and clean. Now, if you don't get that part, it's not going to be the end of the world, but you kind of see why I'm doing that. We talk about the first day. The computer thinks about day 0. We talk about less than 10, so the last day is day 9. 0 through 9 is 10 days, but it looks a lot nicer printing it like this. Okay. Well, what's the pay going to be? So I've got to have some way daily pay. Okay. Now again, what else have I forgotten? Okay. I better say total equals total plus daily pay. Okay. And it's total pay. I've declared variable names. I need to stick to them. So let's look at what this program does right now. It says, okay, I start with 0 money on the first day. I'm going to make $100. So at the end of the first day, I'll have $100. And I do that 10 times, and every time I add $100. So what should I have? I should have $1,000, right? Now again, this can be a little confusing because I'm solving a problem that I don't have, but I want to solve a smaller problem so I can get to a bigger problem. And doing it with something like this is a good idea. So you can sit down and just write the whole thing start to finish. But if you only got a year or two of programming under your belt, I highly recommend taking it like this. Okay, if I got to do something 10 times, can I just say hello 10 times? Okay, that works. Now, can I do the thing that I want to do once? All right, now can I combine that together and do the thing 10 times? And that's kind of how I'm showing you my thought process here. Sure. So the reason for that, there's actually no reason right now. When I get to the math for the second one, the problem is the exponential function. I want to start at 0 because 2 to the 0 is 1. I just confused everybody by saying that. You could do it that way. I'm choosing to do it this way. You'll run into issues if you start at 0. You'll run into different issues if you start at 1. So I encourage you to try it both ways and see what you think. For exponential, the problem is, it's not done. I don't think it's done. Let's run it. So this says you make $100, but let's look at the question. The question is, you make $100 the first day, 200 for the second day, 300 for the third day. So I'm not doing that part yet, so I got to tackle that.